So that is the end of my Chinese part of my presentation. I continue in English. So I will talk about the birth of the pure neurotoxin and the inspiration behind this development. So in the 90s, when I started with the development of the pure neurotoxin, there were 2 products on the market. Do not need them. Why inject? So the complexing proteins which surround the neurotoxin, they are not beneficial for the patient. So why inject? Doesn't make sense to me. In other words, a product which is simply based on the pure neurotoxin means that the patient gets the injection the patient needs for the therapy. There was another reason why I thought that the core neurotoxin, the pure neurotoxin, would be an advantageous product for the patient and for the doctor. Because at that time it became clear that patients develop antibodies, neutralizing antibodies which terminate the therapy with botulinum toxin. Professor Martin has just explained that in more detail. So from the analysis of the sera, we came to a speculation, a hypothesis, namely that a product should be free of toxins, of inactive neurotoxin. It should be purified from unnecessary concomitant proteins because these proteins could act as adjuvants, as stimulators of the immune system. So get rid of it to develop an advantageous product. So this just shows you the mechanism of action of the neurotoxin. The neurotoxin is injected into the patient. Here you see the neurotoxin, the spatial structure, and the neurotoxin then moves in the injected muscle to the nerve cell. It is taken up by the nerve cell in the next step, and in the nerve cell, it inhibits the secretion of the neurotransmitter. And the blocking of the secretion leads to the therapeutic effect, namely to the removal of wrinkles or to the contouring of special parts of the body, of the face, of the leg, and so on. So that is the simple mechanism of action. In this mechanism of action, no other proteins are involved. So the patient do not need any other ingredients. So what we call the evolution of purity was that we remove all the complexing proteins from the complex, and I'm sorry, I have not a real laser, this is my old-fashioned laser. And here you see the spatial structure of botulinum toxin, how is it folded in the space, and the blue is the neurotoxin, the core neurotoxin, which is necessary for the therapeutic effect. So what we did is we removed all the other proteins from these products, and we end up with a pure neurotoxin, which is that what the patient needs. So we started with the development of the pure neurotoxin around 1997, and I had the idea that it must be possible to develop a stable product just based on the core neurotoxin. And it took a couple of years until 2005. The botulinum toxin product Xeomin was approved for the European market. It's now 20 years ago, and it's 10 years on the Taiwanese market. Interesting correlation. So a couple of years later, in 2009, Xeomin was approved for aesthetic indications for the treatment of glabellar lines. And we are a little bit proud because now more than 6 million patients are treated with Xeomin, and there is no report of secondary non-response based on neutralizing antibodies. And in this time, in the development time, I developed the so-called XTRACT technology. What does it mean, XTRACT technology? Well, we start with the cultivation, with the growth of the bacteria, Clostridium botulinum, that are the producers of this drug. And after the fermentation, we get rid of all the bacterial ingredients and end up with the complex. And in the extract technology, a special procedure, we get rid of all the complexing proteins and we end up with a pure product. That's what the patient needs. So it took a long time and a long work to develop a stable formulation. At the time it was thought that the pure neurotoxin is not stable without the complexing proteins. I was not of that opinion. I thought it must be possible to produce, to manufacture a pure neurotoxin without all the other complexing proteins. So I invested a lot of weekends to find out that there is a very simple formulation for a stable neurotoxin, just human serum albumin, that is a protein from human blood, which is purified, and which is necessary for the stability of the neurotoxin, and simple household sugar. These two simple ingredients are enough to stabilize the neurotoxin. Other proteins are not necessary. And in the next slide you see what the result was. All the other products on the market must be stored in the refrigerator at 2 to 8 degrees, whereas Xeomin can be stored at room temperature. So really an advantage, and you see complexing proteins are not necessary for the stability. So how can we show that in Xeomin there is the pure botulinum neurotoxin? So you have to apply special sensitive analytical procedures to really analyze the purity, and we have done that, and we analyzed 2 different other products, Avo and Oma, Botox and Dysport. And in this assay, I'm sorry for the complicated slide, in this assay you see the amount of the neurotoxin protein in the different product. We see 0.44 nanograms in Inco, in Xeomin, whereas in Avo it's about 50% more. What's the explanation for that? The explanation for that is that in this product there is inactive neurotoxin, more core protein, which is not functioning in the therapy. It's inactive. It just sits around in the muscle, but it can be active for the immune system to stimulate antibodies. So this really demonstrated us a special aspect of the purity of the core neurotoxin. And from that we can really calculate the so-called specific potency, the potency in relation to the amount of neurotoxin. And as you can see here, the specific potency in Xeomin is the highest. So to conclude my presentation, Xeomin contains only what the patient needs for the therapy. It is free of complexing proteins. There are no other contaminants in Xeomin. There is no DNA, which can be immunostimulating. There are no aggregates, which can also stimulate the immune system. There are no polysorbates, surfactants, no peptides, and no adjuvants. So I'm really happy that the pure neurotoxin, the angel toxin it's called here, I learned that the angel toxin is now 10 years on the market. Cheers here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you,